Would you be the jerk for telling off your sister at her birthday dinner? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for the way I got my sister to eat fruit? My, 17, parents have been worried about my little sister for a while now, since she refuses to eat fruits and vegetables. They've asked me and my brother, 22, if we can come up with some ideas. I don't even know how I got this idea, it just came to me. What I did was to take her to a zoo with this elephant feeding experience, fed a couple of elephants some bananas in front of her, and then told her to look at how enthusiastically they devour the stuff. Said, "That must mean it's delicious, right?" Somehow it worked. The next day she tried a banana and admitted that it's not bad. No other fruits yet, but still. My brother doesn't approve though. When he found out, he said I basically tricked our sister and that it's not right to play this sort of games with children. So let me clarify, I don't have any kids, but is what OP did not actually the right thing? Like, please, take a second and explain to me how OP tricked them or lied to them or gave them some kind of like misleading information. All they did was show them an elephant happily devouring a banana and saying, "It must be good, right?" What trickery is there to that? Respect the Green Hats commented, "Not the jerk. Clearly your brother hasn't read enough Calvin and Hobbes." Also, classic family story, we were visiting my grandparents in Kentucky when we were younger, and my grandma made fried chicken. My sister said that she only liked KFC chicken. My grandma said that since they were in Kentucky, this was KFC chicken. It worked, and my sister ate it with no more complaints. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my parents a loan on their new restaurant? I just want others' thoughts on this. There's a lot of backstory to this. I've been working since 14 and I've had an account with my mom where all the money was deposited. My parents got their first house when I was 18 and they used my money for the down payment without asking me or letting me know until I asked about that money closer to college. I thought it would be used for my college. At that time, I didn't have a car or my own phone since they were very strict. I'm now mid-20s. I've since moved out with my boyfriend and saving up to get our own house. I only have a few grand saved since I get too spend happy with the financial freedom. I also furnished my room, got a car, a phone, and cats. Also have college debt, so there's that. My parents asked me recently for a loan for my saved up money. I was on the fence, but ultimately declined to help them. They also acted very desperate, like they needed urgently. They claimed they would pay me back, but I just don't trust them. They've also tried every trick in the book, saying I owe them and they raised me, guilt tripping, and the whole 9 yards. Since then, they haven't contacted me and vice versa. Was I in the wrong? OP is definitely not in the wrong here. All they have to ask themselves is, did they ever pay back that first loan? Which wasn't a loan, obviously, because they stole it. Like at this point, OP knows who these people are, even if they are their parents. They're not really asking for a loan now, are they? The Purplest Meerkat commented, "Not the jerk. Your parents have already shown that they're not trustworthy around money because they stole from you, and you didn't mention them paying back that money, so it's fair to assume that they didn't. If you made a loan to them now, they wouldn't pay that back either. You don't owe them anything for raising you. They chose to have you, and that cost was an obligation they took on, not you. Stand firm, and if they don't like it, that's for them to deal with." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not going to my twin's wedding? I, 24-year-old male, have an identical twin. We're not close, but I thought we had basic mutual respect. That belief was tested. I grew up in a traditional southern town and only began coming out in college about 5 years ago. It's been slow, especially with family, but since moving to DC in 23 for school and work, I've been more comfortable living authentically. After moving, I met my boyfriend, 26-year-old male, and we've been together 2 years. Over time, I've introduced him to friends and family when I felt safe. Cut to November 24, I was home for the holidays and told my twin and his fiancé about my boyfriend. They seemed happy for me. While staying with them, wedding details arose, and they asked if I would be bringing a date. I said yes, my boyfriend. My twin had gone to bed, but his fiancé said, "While there are pros and cons, it's up to you if you want to bring him." That felt like a green light. My twin constantly deferred to her on decisions, so I didn't think I needed to double check. 5 months passed, and my boyfriend and I spent $1,300 on travel, flights, hotel, etc. 3 weeks before the wedding, I mentioned on a call with my brother that we were all set. His tone shifted. "Oh, is boyfriend actually coming?" I reminded him of the convo with his fiancé. He said she never gave me permission and accused me of making it up. Then said, "We can't allow your boyfriend to come. We worry how dad's side will react." I offered to call dad on the spot. He dodged, saying that he would check with his fiancée, despite just saying it was his decision. An hour later, no change. I was still invited, alone, still expected to buy a groomsman matching suit, even though I wasn't in the party, and show up smiling. That's when I snapped. I asked, "If I didn't invite your fiancé to my wedding, would you still come?" He couldn't answer and ended the call after some harsh words. Trying to make things right, I came out to my dad, which I feared for years, to explain the situation. He was surprisingly indifferent and even said uninviting my boyfriend was extreme. He offered to talk to extended family. I thought I was removing the main obstacle. Weeks later, my twin called again. He now claimed our friends would be weirded out, so the excuse shifted. I said, "If my boyfriend's not invited, I'm not coming." He didn't budge. Here's the kicker. Days later, my dad told me the fiancée had admitted she did give me permission, but changed her mind when she remembered who would be there. She denied this to my twin. Also, one of her bridesmaids is openly gay and brought her girlfriend, but according to the fiancée, she's not part of the family, so it's different. So I didn't go. I'm still wondering if I made the wrong call. My absence was noticed. I got texts asking where I was. My mom had to explain it repeatedly. So instead of avoiding attention, my absence became the story. My relationship with my twin is dead, and some family ties now feel fragile. Part of me wonders, should I have sucked it up and gone solo just to preserve bonds that shaped my early life? So, am I the jerk for skipping the wedding? I think especially considering the flip-flopping back and forth, and specifically the targeted not allowing you to bring your boyfriend of 2 years to the wedding when other people's partners of varying lengths of time are allowed, I think it just makes a very valid reason for not attending. I feel like I would challenge them and be like, just say it. You don't want gay men at your wedding. You know, you said all this nonsense about, oh, you're worried about the dad side being upset. Well, knock that wall down, so what's the problem? Like, realistically, just being clear about that boundary and discomfort would at least save everybody the time and effort and stress. Nope Dragon 55 commented, "You came out to your dad, got gaslit by your twin, got lied to by the fiancé, and still tried to make peace. You did more than enough. They chose drama, not you." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to take care of my ill grandmother? I'm 21-year-old female, autistic, a uni student close to graduating, and dealing with CPTSD. I was only diagnosed this year, but everything suddenly made sense. I spent most of my life being emotionally abused and neglected. My dad was absent, and my mom had a codependent relationship with me because I was the eldest. She did the emotional stuff whenever I didn't fall in line, and for a long time, I just tolerated it, but not anymore. Right now, I live with my younger brother, 17, and my cousin, who works 12-hour shifts and is barely home. My mom and younger siblings are on vacation. My dad no longer lives with us, and he provides no financial or emotional support. It's my cousin who does. I manage everything in the house: cooking, cleaning, uni, medication, Zoloft, my routines, all while managing autism and CPTSD. Despite that, my dad decided without asking that my grandmother, his mother, should come stay with us. She's emotionally abusive, has no boundaries, constantly criticizes, and has a sharp tongue. Even her own daughter refused to keep her any longer because of how demanding and cruel she can be. She needs regular hospital visits and help with daily tasks, and now my dad expects me and my 17-year-old brother to take care of her alone. So I did what I needed to do. I didn't let her in. I followed my instincts. I don't know if this was the right thing to do or not. I might be the jerk, like my parents say, for refusing to take care of a helpless, ill grandmother. She's my dad's mom and the only alive parent he has. I wanted to get an outsider's perspective. Am I the jerk here? Maybe if OP had like a long-standing history with her and, she was a very positive, influential role model that really helped OP out in life, maybe you could say that OP would be the jerk. But obviously that isn't the case here, and it's kind of their dad pawning his mom off on the kids, hoping that he's found somebody to pass the buck to. OP themselves has acknowledged they don't have the capacity to take care of her right now, nor do they necessarily have the desire to. Spiritual Bridge 3027 commented, "You were absolutely right in not letting your bio grandmother into your place. Your father, who hasn't taken an ounce of responsibility in his life, is now trying to pawn off the care of his mother on you guys? Don't give in, not the jerk. Anything Live 644 commented, your dad's guilt tripping is manipulative. You shouldn't sacrifice your mental health for someone who has hurt you. Stand your ground. You deserve peace in your home. Our next story is, am I the jerk for laughing at what my coworker said when I thought it was a joke? Myself and another manager, Joe, at our workplace, both of us approximately the same age and men, were talking to one of our employees, Ryan, about the plans for next week. Joe has a dry sense of humor and says a lot of jokes deadpan. As we were wrapping up, Joe told Ryan to do a task for him, and Ryan responded, sure. Joe then said with a straight face, no, don't say sure, you say yes. I thought this was kind of a weird joke and laughed a little. Ryan just said yes and went about his way. After this, Joe asked me why I laughed, and I said I thought he was making a little joke about being picky with responses. Joe said it's not picky, explaining that I told him to do something, it's a command from his manager, not a request. By saying sure, he's treating it like it's a request and he has discretion on his part. By saying yes, he's showing he understands he needs to follow orders. He then told me that it was rude for me to laugh at what he said in front of our employee. I sort of see where he's coming from in that sure sounds more casual, but it seems super uptight on his part to react that way. I did not apologize for laughing at what he said, and don't feel like I owe him one. OP's not the jerk here. I think even if OP was to take it literally, it's a human enough reaction to laugh in that situation because it's kind of like a tense or like, dare I say, even kind of like icky thing to have to experience. Like being a witness to an exchange like that would definitely make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And yeah, I think it's human enough to chuckle a little bit after seeing that. Kimber the Tabby Lion commented, not the jerk, Joe is though. It's not a command, Ryan has a choice. He is allowed to say no if he wants to. May get him fired, but that's part of the choice. Honestly, if I was Ryan, this sort of micromanagement would have me on Indeed the next day. Who needs the crap for an obviously minimum wage job? I would suck it up until I could get out of there. Our next story is, am I the jerk for bringing my dead father up in front of my mother's new husband? I'm so upset and I don't know if I'm in the wrong. I'm 27-year-old female. My father passed away of cancer back in 2018 when I was 20. Last weekend, my mother remarried. I get along well enough with her new husband. He's a cool guy in general, treats me and my mother well. He also has a 13-year-old daughter from a previous relationship as he's been married and divorced his ex. They have a 50-50 custody split of their daughter. During the wedding on Saturday, everyone had fun. I even shed some tears of joy for my mom. But Sunday, something shifted. My cousin asked if I'm going to call my mom's new husband Dad. I obviously said no. I already had a dad and was a fully grown woman by the time he came into my mother's life. After that comment, my mother and her sister pulled me aside and started yelling at me to stop bringing up my father in front of her new husband because he's jealous of a dead man? His ex is alive, and they see each other every other weekend to pass the kid, but he's jealous of a dead man? I basically told them to get off me, that I don't do it deliberately, but my father had been my father for 20 years, and naturally I bring him up sometimes in passing, especially to my younger cousin who was only 7 when my dad passed away and barely remembers him. My aunt went into a whole tangent about how my dad was important to me but is not important to anybody else anymore, and I should let go and move on instead of talking about him because everyone else is. That, in turn, made me cry, and I didn't speak to either of them for the rest of the day. Am I the jerk for bringing up my dad sometimes? Is it reasonable of my mother's husband to be jealous of a literal corpse? OP is 1,000,000% not the jerk, and it's absolutely crazy for them to say, you need to move on from your father and stop talking about him all the time. Like, what kind of heartless, messed up person do you have to be to say that? Like, their bias is clouding their eyes so hard, they probably don't even realize how freaking ugly they look right now. I'm a Mage, Fight Me commented, not the jerk. This is straight up despicable behavior from your mother and aunt. No one gets to tell you to stop talking about your father, ever. Are you sure this is actually coming from the new husband, or is it just coming from your mother? Regardless, it's disgusting to try and make you shut up, and even more so to say no one cares about your father. If your mother ever loved your father, she would never allow that to be said. I wouldn't be able to look my mother in the eye again if I were in your position. OP responded commenting, the tangent came from mostly my wine-drunk aunt. So I wasn't that upset with my mother. I honestly don't know what to think. I told my mom that I try not to bring my dad up as much in front of her new husband, but she mentioned the situation that happened that same weekend, where I joked to him that he needs to start scoring the dad points because he would be my stepfather the next day. I obviously meant him, not my dead dad, but I guess he misunderstood? I don't know. Our next story is, am I the jerk for dropping a call with my girlfriend after she nitpicked what I said? I, 23-year-old male, was on a call with my girlfriend, 22-year-old female. She was talking about how she feels guilty that her parents have been providing for her financially. I get where she's coming from. We both come from poor families, but they're amazing in their own ways. I love how her parents and siblings are all supportive of her education, especially her sisters. Both of her parents are retired, and her older sister is the one supporting her financially. It's not an easy thing to sacrifice your early adult life for your siblings' future, and I truly respect that. I've also supported her financially ever since I migrated to the US. She always says no, but there's been times when money was urgently needed. Anyway, she said she feels guilty and can't even feel happy about her graduation because she thinks it's only the bare minimum she finished. She also has more on her mind, like review centers and passing the board exam. I listened, comforted her, and tried to console her by saying, "It's okay." Then she suddenly snapped at me and said, "It's not appropriate to just say, 'it's okay' when it's not. I meant that it's okay to feel the way she does and all." Another time, she told me she was feeling pressured about the board exams. I said something like, "Think of the past problems you've had. At the time, they seemed big and heavy, but looking back, they've become non-existent. Something that you can pat yourself at the back when looking back, and this problem might feel the same way in the future." She told me that it wasn't helpful. I tried explaining what I meant, but she told me to stop because it added pressure. Then she explained how we have different coping mechanisms and what works for me doesn't necessarily work for her. I completely agree with that, and I apologized. But we've had many arguments about things that I should have said, as if there's a pre-written script I'm supposed to hit, and if I don't exactly say what she wants to hear, it turns into a problem. What upsets me the most was when she said, "Stop worrying about my problems because they're not yours anyway." That really hurt. After 5 years together, you're telling me not to worry about something that clearly affects you, which I care deeply about? I felt so offended and left out. I've always tried to be there for her, to comfort and support her, to make sure she feels seen and heard. But every time I try, it feels like she just rejects it. I was so done, and I dropped the call. Are my feelings valid, or am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk. I think OP was trying their best to be supportive, and unfortunately, I don't know if it's just different ideologies, if she's just struggling in a way that she needs to learn to cope with, or maybe it's a situation where OP could have taken a different route that would work for her but just doesn't quite know it yet. Whatever it is, this situation clearly frustrating for both sides, and ultimately, I think removing yourself from that situation before you do something that you're probably going to regret even more, not necessarily a bad idea. Jujubee7683 commented, this is the classic different people want different things problem, not the jerk. You think she's looking for solutions, she's not. She doesn't want you to problem solve for her or tell her why it's not as cool as he thinks it is. She wants to tell you that she's freaking out and that it sucks, and for you to say something like, "I get why you're freaking out," or "that sucks," or "you do have a huge load on your plate and I bet it's really hard." And then after you've acknowledged how hard it is, you can tell her she freaking is doing an amazing job handling it, but you understand why she's stressed. And then you ask her if there's anything you can do to help. Would it be nice if you got both of you takeout? Filled her car up with gas? Neck rub? Instead, you are trying to give her guidance. Don't worry. It's okay. You won't always feel this bad. It's just because you're under pressure. You'll feel better in the morning. Or maybe trying to troubleshoot the problem. I don't know. Here's the problem there. If she wanted guidance, that would be fine. But if she doesn't, that comes across like you know better than she does, like you've assessed her stress and determined it's not really that big a deal. It's not comforting. It's the opposite. I get it, by the way. I'm all about troubleshooting a problem. I really ticked someone off once by not realizing that wasn't what they wanted. Now I've learned to start by acknowledging the feelings, and that's all. I can always say later, "Hey, do you want me to come up with solutions with you, or do you just want to vent?" Something to consider because she's telling you it's the wrong response, but you're so sure that you're supporting her in an awesome way, maybe you aren't listening. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my nephews no cake after they were told they could have cake? This happened a week ago and I have no remorse, but my in-laws are still upset over it. My sister-in-law's birthday was last week. I spent the day making it special for her, driving her around to her favorite stores and spots around town, until eventually her friends had a surprise birthday party for her. That was our last stop. She had way too much to drink, and I had to drag her out of the party when her mom called me multiple times to get home to pick up our kids. It took me an hour, and her friends kept booing me, but eventually we were on our way home. But she kept demanding I take her to other friends' houses the whole time. I said no, it's 8:30 p.m. and we need to pick up our kids. She was upset at me but ended up passing out anyway. We got to my mother-in-law's house to pick up the kids, and while I was in the bathroom, I heard my mother-in-law talking to my sister-in-law's son and telling them that they can have cake at my house. They were going to stay the night at my house, so my sister-in-law can have a peaceful night. I was already so frustrated and tired, and when I heard that, I was done. I walked out and helped everyone get ready. My mother-in-law was handing me the cake and asked, "Oh, can you take this?" I just looked at her and said, "No," and walked away. The boys all pouted and the older one started crying. I just didn't care. I got them all packed up and told them that it's bedtime and we aren't having sugar, but we can have cake tomorrow. The older one bawled again and had a fit the whole way home. The next day, I brought them over. All the kids had cake. Everything was fine. But my sister-in-law and mother-in-law think I overreacted, that I was being horrible and mean to the boys. I wanted to tell them so bad that saying no is not a bad thing, but I just kept my mouth shut. It's been a week and they're still bothered by it. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit to add, I forgot to mention that the kids already had cake. While they were at their grandma's, they had cake and cookies and ice cream. My first thought was, well, why is OP taking this out on the kids and saying no, you can't have the cake? Until OP reframed it again for me that at this point it's what, 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m.? Yeah, those kids can wait until the morning, and OP's not the jerk. Historical Carpet 262 commented, not the jerk. If I'm reading this correctly, you were the designated driver for your sister-in-law on her birthday and then took her children home with you at the end of the night? But then you had the audacity to say no to cake before bedtime at your house because it was 9:30 p.m.? How dare you? If your mother-in-law was that dedicated to them having cake that night, she could have kept them at hers. But it's a lot easier to give kids cake when they aren't in your charge any longer. Nibblefizz commented, exactly this, OP. You were already doing way more than your share by being the designated driver and handling pickup. Saying no to cake at 9:30 p.m. after they already had some earlier is just basic parenting, not cruelty. If mother-in-law was so committed to the cake moment, she could have kept them overnight herself. You're not the bad guy for setting a bedtime boundary. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling off my sister at her birthday dinner? Here's some important context. My sister, female 28, recently got engaged to her now fiancé, 28-year-old male. We only recently found out about the engagement even though they've been engaged for 2 months. Before their engagement, they were only dating for a month or so. When my sister announced her engagement, we were all shocked to say the least, but we congratulated her and we celebrated. However, she's now made it a point to stay making fun of the fact that she got engaged before me, 25-year-old female, even though I've been in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend, 28-year-old male, for 4 years. In fact, everyone was surprised that she got engaged before me. I've told her multiple times that I'm not bothered that she got engaged before me, since she is the older sister, so it only makes sense. Now here is where I might be the jerk. We were at our birthday dinner a few days ago. Once again, at this birthday dinner, she started the whole thing of how she got engaged before me. I was just going to let it slide since it was her birthday dinner and her fiancé was there and I don't really know him that well. However, she then said at that point, they were planning that if they found out that my boyfriend was going to propose to me, they were going to get engaged the day before just to beat me to it. As soon as I heard that, I lost it and told her she's making it seem as though she only got engaged just to spite me. The mood turned sour, and eventually we all went home. My parents think I overreacted since, according to my sister, that comment was only a joke. So, am I the jerk for telling off my sister at her birthday dinner? OP's a million% not the jerk. I think almost anybody in that position would find it getting really old really quickly to be told at every possible chance, "We beat you to it, you're too slow." Like, alright there, Sonic, congratulations, I hope the rest of the relationship doesn't run its course real quick too. Bluebell2519 commented, "You know what you should have said instead of losing it at her? It's a shame that your engagement was all about me rather than the two of you, but it's nice to know I was at the forefront of your mind during your special moment," and winked at her. Then say, "I know that when I get engaged, the only thing that I'll be thinking of is how my fiance and soon-to-be husband loves me enough to propose with all the love for me in his heart," and smile. Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for siding with my boyfriend when my sister and brother-in-law try to take over my business? My sister and I had a falling out, and my husband and I want to know if we should apologize or just move on. I've been running a business for a few years now, and it was small, but I never really tried to make it anything big. I was content just by getting by and doing something I enjoyed. Eventually, I started dating someone who had the time, energy, and resources to start helping me grow. He rebranded my business, and it grew. It was fun, and eventually I got my partner more involved. He went to a trade show with me, and we got an idea together to grow the biz more. My boyfriend had a great idea to include my sister and her spouse because we thought it would benefit them financially and bring us closer together. Big mistake. Even though my boyfriend and I each invested about 50% into the expansion, and my sister and her stay-at-home husband invested nothing, it wasn't long before they started telling everyone that it was their business. I would talk to people who would tell me they talked to the owners, which was funny to me, because it was actually my boyfriend and I who risked everything financially to purchase the expansion and grow it. We just invited them to come along for free, and we even gave my brother-in-law a job because he had been unemployed for years. It went downhill from there. My boyfriend and I aren't big on attention, so we didn't really care that people thought my sis and brother-in-law owned the business, but then they started giving their friends huge discounts, sometimes free, and doing it without our consent. On top of all that, my boyfriend and I found out that my dad, who handled accounting, was paying my brother-in-law double what we discussed for working for our company. All of this was without our knowledge. Meanwhile, my boyfriend declined to take a salary for all of the work he was doing for what was now our business, even after he had invested his own personal money into it. I got upset enough and tried talking to my sister, and my boyfriend tried talking to my brother-in-law, but things quickly fell apart. My brother-in-law started telling my boyfriend he wasn't going to do parts of the job, so my boyfriend and I took on all the work while brother-in-law was making a double salary and my boyfriend was taking nothing. I didn't even increase my salary while we were trying to grow. We realized maybe inviting them to join us was a mistake, but we truly had the best of intentions. We tried to find ways to talk to them, but they got passive-aggressive, and recently my boyfriend finally told brother-in-law to go freak yourself. Anyway, he said that he would, and now they're no longer working for us. My parents have sided with my sister and brother-in-law, but they haven't heard our side. This whole situation hurts because my sister has always been my BFF, but I can't figure out what we did. We've asked, but at this point, they're only rallying the troops against us. I've tried talking to my sis, who won't respond. I want to protect my partner, and I think he was justified after having dealt with my brother-in-law's bad attitude for weeks. If we did something wrong, I want to apologize. I don't think OP's in the wrong here. I think, honestly, with the best of intentions, this is what kind of can happen when you involve friends or family into something you are so much more passionate about and, more importantly, work. There's been situations in my past where I've invested not insignificant amounts of money to me at the time in a situation where there's kind of an expected compensatory output from the friends that I invested in, only to be met mostly with radio silence. It's really just kind of unfortunately a really good learning lesson and kind of gives me, at least I think, more credence to the whole not a great idea to mix work with friends or family. Crackhead commented, "Not the jerk. Please immediately remove your father's access to your business and accounting and hire a new CPA to review everything. The fact your father took it upon himself to dispense out money without your direct approval as the boss indicates he might have done other things that were not only inappropriate, but may have been done so at a cost to you and your partner. I would encourage you to contact legal counsel at this point to clarify what has happened and what liabilities you've opened yourself up to. If there's anything that occurred with your dad's accounting, then your lawyer can probably provide an idea of what next steps would be appropriate. This sounds horrible, and another reason so many say to never mix business and family. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my niece her mother tried to give her away as a baby? I, 28-year-old male, got into a huge argument with my sister, 31-year-old female, last week. The argument had been simmering for a long time, as tension between us has been high for years. When I was 17, my sister had an accidental pregnancy, and when she told her boyfriend, he left her. Due to our religious family, she kept the baby, but once her daughter was born, she panicked. She didn't want to go through the legal troubles of adoption, so she asked that me and our mother took care of her kid. There was no legal custody, but it was an agreement made within the family. I essentially raised my niece from birth until she was 3, with help from my mother as she was working to support the new addition to the family. I dropped out of school and took care of her, fed her, changed her, and taught her how to walk while my mom was away at work. Then my sister met her now husband, cleaned her life up, and suddenly wanted her kid back. No warning, she moves back to home, says thanks, and starts being a mother. My niece is now 11 and doesn't remember all I and her grandmother did. It's been a family agreement to forget all this happened until the argument. My sister made a petty comment during a fight, where she implied since I lost my job recently, I can't handle responsibility. I snapped and told her she was lucky her daughter was too young to remember how she abandoned her. My niece overheard this and now wants to know what I meant. I outright said that her mother didn't think she could raise her and left her with me and grandma. Now my sister says that I traumatized her daughter, and my mom says I should have kept the secret like we agreed. I think the secret couldn't stay kept forever. Am I the jerk? Edit, hello, I'm here to give more context and answer a bunch of the most common questions. When the argument happened, I had put my niece to bed hours ago. We were at my mother's house, and so no one knew she was going to come in. Secondly, after my niece was born, my sister moved states to get a job. Also, she was 20 and I was 17. And finally, in the aftermath, I said that we can't go back now since my niece already overheard us all talking. So, as a group with her stepfather, we should get together to explain it better. But since the event a week ago, my sister has been saying that we should blow over it and that my niece will forget it if we don't bring it up again. I'm frustrated at this and at how she's now slating me alongside my mother. My mother believes I'm in the wrong for arguing with my sister in the first place, whereas I say she has no right to criticize me for losing my job when I lost my education to caring for her child. I'm trying to get in contact with my niece's stepfather to ask him for his opinion. Edit 2, yes, I was asked by my mom to drop out of school, and I did so. I didn't go to college later. I had no intention of hurting my niece, but she had already overheard what was said, so I felt that keeping it from her now would just cause her confusion. I'm now trying to backpedal the best I can with the family's assistance to be able to properly explain the situation to her, but my sister and my mother both just want to pretend this never happened and hope my niece forgets as she grows up. Edit 3, I'm starting to wish I was clearer from the beginning. I said I was 17 when my sister had the accidental pregnancy. I meant that I was 17 when the baby was born. So just on the basis of OP put the kid to bed, they weren't expecting the kid to be there and overhear it, they're not the jerk. They weren't even meaning for her to overhear like she did. I'm not sure if I fully agree with the idea that this was inevitably going to be revealed at some point. I think it would come down to, is the mom continuing to be a good mom and a good person to the people who stepped in for those first 3 years? Like at this point, if the sister was excelling and being a great mom, there really wouldn't be much reason to bring that up. Spare Article 396 commented, "Your mom completely sucks for allowing you to derail your own life for the sake of a 20-year-old woman not wanting to step up. It's shameful. You shouldn't have said what you said, but oh boy, I can't even begin to understand the resentment you must feel. Not the jerk, make no mistake, it was a jerk thing to do, but I'm giving you a pass." Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my sister-in-law disrespectful after she gave my son a haircut? Today while I was at work, my husband dropped our 1-year-old son off with his sister to babysit. While she was watching him, she asked if she could cut his hair, and I said no. We had previously asked to meet up with her so she could cut his hair, but I'd made it very clear I wanted to be there as this is his first haircut. Well, when it came time to pick him up, we found out that she went ahead and cut it anyway after I explicitly told her no. I was obviously very upset and told my husband his sister was very disrespectful and crossed a line. Now my husband's saying I'm dramatic and it isn't a big deal, so I need to calm down. I think OP's not the jerk. Obviously, I don't think you'll always be there for every milestone in your kid's life, but I think it would be pretty understandable that you would want to be there for that, and obviously I don't think it's necessarily just like a milestone thing, but just making sure your kid is comfortable and okay throughout their first ever haircut. That said, I just have to say though, this kind of reeks to me as one of those situations where they went ahead and did it themselves. They went, oh crap, I never even asked permission. And then they go and ask after the fact, praying that you're going to say yes after they've already gone and done it. Usual Throwaway 7076 commented, she assaulted your kid. Hear me out on this. Your child isn't able to give consent. She asked, you explicitly said no, she did it anyway. Now, if you were to pick up a pair of scissors, asked if you could cut her hair, even though she told you no, and you cut it nonetheless, you would be found guilty of assault. So why does she get a pass for assaulting your child? Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for expecting my husband to not have double standards for his kids versus mine? Am I the jerk for asking my husband to hold his 26-year-old son to the same standard that he holds my 21-year-old son and my daughter's 12-year-old son? My husband requires advance notice of my son and grandson being at our house. My husband says it's for planning purposes, but when his son showed up unannounced and I asked him to please speak with his son about letting us know when he's coming, my husband told me kids should feel like they can visit their parents, and that most parents would be happy their kid came to visit. Then he got angry, absolutely would not acknowledge that it's no different than what he asks of my son and grandson, and has now been giving me the silent treatment for several weeks. Hope he's not the jerk, there's definitely a double standard going on here. He kind of sounds like the kind of dad that would go out of his way to make sure that his kid has birthday candles to blow out when their kid is attending someone else's birthday party. Come on, Susan, kids should feel like they should be able to celebrate themselves too. Del828 commented, your husband doesn't have double standards for his children versus your children. He has double standards for him and you. He gets to make the decisions, you don't. Why are you living this way? Our next story is, am I the jerk for not asking my friend's daughter to be my flower girl? Hey Reddit, I need some perspective on something that happened recently. My partner and I celebrated our engagement with a small gathering of friends, and one of our couple's friends' daughter, 7 years old, is going to be our flower girl because she loves both me and my partner dearly. When we were all sitting around enjoying the party, another friend of ours, who also has a daughter, 1 year old, but one who isn't close to my partner, asked me in front of everyone if her daughter could also be the flower girl. I felt like this was more out of envy than a genuine request because she probably felt left out. I didn't respond to her question right away because I felt it was an inappropriate thing to ask in front of the group, especially when we'd already made our decision and not something I feel you ask someone. I feel like it was really rude and inconsiderate to spring that question on me like that. Since the engagement party, she asked me to meet one-on-one, and I'm guessing she's going to bring up her jealousy, displayed as being upset that she feels left out of the friend group, and probably the flower girl situation again. I'm just not sure how to handle it without turning it into an argument, and I don't want to come off as rude, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore how inappropriate I think her behavior was. I'm literally dreading meeting up with her because I do not think her daughter should be flower girl and cannot imagine how awkward this is going to be if I say no. As a separate note, she does not let her child's face anywhere on social media due to AI dangers, which is absolutely fair. However, the thought of my wedding photos with an emoji over the kid's face is not how I want my photos to look. I also feel a 1-year-old is pretty freaking young to be walking down the aisle. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for feeling frustrated and angry about the flower girl situation and her general jealousy? Or am I leaving her out and should let her daughter be a flower girl? I mean, OP made their decision. If they make it painful for you to say no, honestly, I feel like that is something that should be rallyable around. Like, what is the composition of your friend group if one person is being weird like that, you bring it up and everybody like tries to downplay it or like villainize you for it? How would they not see it for what it is? Joe007 at home commented, "Okay, boundaries. It's your wedding. It's obvious unless you only have two friends in life, someone isn't going to be maid of honor. Bear with me, I know this is Flower Girl. So it stands to reason that since you've already asked someone to be Flower Girl, the position is filled. Alas, some people don't get that they aren't the center of the universe, or your wedding. The other thing is, her child is a year old and not appropriate for the position anyway, but since she was inappropriate in asking in front of the whole group, to some people this guarantees a positive answer, since they feel a negative would be embarrassing. If she's a friend, she's not a very good friend to try to make you feel guilty for choosing the people who will assist you on your special day. You and you only, partner is your other half, get to decide who, what, when, and where. Best wishes for your new life." Our next story is, am I the jerk for hiding my half-siblings from my brother? I, 19-year-old female, have a younger brother, 17-year-old male, let's call him Archer. He's my full brother. To give some context, my dad cheated on my mom throughout over a decade of marriage before she decided she was done with him. Prior to meeting her, my father had a girlfriend in high school with whom he had one son when he was 19. The mother's family gave him an ultimatum of marriage or staying the freak away, and he chose to peace out. My mother knew about this kid, and even had money set aside for if my father wanted to reconnect, but he never chose to. Decades later, in 2013 or so, my father had an affair with a coworker of his. At this point, my brother and I would have been 6 and 7 respectively. My parents were still married, as was the mother of the new kid. The mother will swear the child is her husband's. They're still married, but my father had a DNA test to confirm it is his. All in all, my brother Archer and I have 2 half-siblings. I've long suspected this, and recently outright asked my father, and he told me all this. However, he's not telling my younger brother. I feel that it's unfair that my brother is the only person in my immediate family, including our mother, that doesn't know about our half-siblings. I have the power to tell him about this. I am aware of it and keep telling my dad to tell him, but he will not. Am I the jerk for not telling my brother about our half-siblings? Or would I be a bigger jerk for spilling my dad's business and breaking his trust? I rarely see my dad get emotional, but I could tell that him sharing this was a vulnerable moment. However, no one tells my brother crap to the point where he assumed that my parents' divorce was somehow his fault, until we told him about the affairs when he was like 15. Thank y'all. Edit for context, for as horrible a husband my dad was, unfortunately, he was a really good dad to me and Archer. Also, when I found out about the affairs, I was like 15 and stopped talking to him for a long while. I just didn't tell my brother because I was a kid and knew it wasn't my place. So ultimately, I don't know if I really think it's OP's burden one way or another. Whether OP does or doesn't, the gravity of the whole thing isn't like spurred from OP. It's still the dad choosing to withhold this information. Gabraham J commented, "Honestly, I don't think you would be the jerk either way, but I think you should tell your brother. It sounds like he's always left in the dark about things he doesn't have to be. Not the jerk, but your dad sure is." Hopwink commented, "Totally agree with you. Archer deserves to know the truth, especially since he's clearly always been in the dark about stuff that directly affects him. OP isn't the bad guy here at all. Their dad created this mess and kept piling on the lies. OP, you're just trying to protect your little brother, and that says a lot about your character." Our next story is, am I the jerk? My mom thinks that I shower too long, and a shower should take 5 minutes. So to clarify, me and my family are pretty well off. My showers usually last about 20 to 25 minutes, but I always get screamed at after leaving because apparently we should all be taking 5-minute showers. Her main arguments are, what are you doing there for that long? And I can't really say scrubbing my body, hair, exfoliating, etc. because she literally takes 5-minute showers, so she would never get it. Honestly, I have no idea what to do, and I'm just lost in how to explain that showering is part of my time to clean and prioritize myself. Edit, yes, I turn the water off when I'm scrubbing my body, washing my hair, and then turn it back on afterwards. My toilet and shower and bath are separate rooms, so it's no problem about needing to use the toilet. Before going in the shower, I always ask if anyone else in my family needs to use it. I know I'm the only one that takes longer than everybody else, so I never shower first. A lot of people are guessing my mom has shorter hair than me. Unfortunately, no, she's got waist-length hair, and it's almost always greasy at the roots. Also, she doesn't shave because she's had laser done. I've just realized one thing about my mom's childhood. She grew up with 10 siblings, all teenagers, the same age as her, and she probably had to use the 5-minute rule. But now in her own house, she still carries this unnecessary rule out? I fear it might be a programmed mindset problem with her. So let me just say, I'm all for conserving water where you can, taking shorter showers if it makes sense. That said, I'm gonna be real, sometimes I'm just not feeling like I'm wanting to move all that much. Sometimes I wake up and I'm cold and I'm just kinda shivery and the water feels so darn nice and I just wanna sit there and absorb the steam and let the water hit me for a while. And like OP kind of alluded to, if you have more than just scrub your body, wash your hair, and get out, like a lot of people do with shaving or exfoliating, or even doing the foreign thing to me as a man of shampooing and then conditioning afterwards, I think it's understandable that time adds up. Like, being completely honest, when I'm going at what I think is a good pace for me, my showers are like 12-ish minutes around there. Like, I probably could shower even faster than that, but I'm not trying to be stressed out trying to shower. STFU Barry commented, "Most of these commenters are insane. If you aren't showering for a minimum of 15 minutes, I doubt you're thoroughly cleaning yourself. It takes me at least 20 minutes, longer if my hair needs to be washed, wash my face, fully rinse, soap and washcloth on the hot zones, body wash scrub everywhere, rinse thoroughly, and then fully rinse out the washcloth and loofah. Keep doing what you're doing, instill some smelly malicious compliance if she keeps micromanaging." Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling out my husband for making me feel guilty about money on a trip that was supposed to be my birthday gift? My 28-year-old female birthday was a couple weeks ago. My husband, 32-year-old male, and I went to Chicago a week after my birthday to celebrate my birthday and our upcoming 3-year anniversary. We agreed it would either be a gift or the trip. He paid about $800 for the hotel, all the Ubers, and then spent $1,000 on a Michelin star restaurant, which he's always wanted to go to. I had no idea he spent that much on the restaurant and was really surprised and kind of annoyed when he told me. The experience was great, and of course I appreciated it and didn't complain once. But it just felt like that was more for him because he kept saying he's always really wanted to go to one and that he felt like the money spent was worth it. I also contributed financially. He asked me to send him $100 during the trip, which I did without question. I paid for some of the food, drinks, boat tours, and museums. Then, during the trip, he told me I wasn't contributing enough or even offering to, so I sent him another $500. I didn't mind paying for stuff, but it was that he actively got upset and complained to me about it instead of just asking me to pitch in a little more. In the beginning of the trip, he kept telling me that I deserve this trip and that he wanted to treat me, but he made me feel like the whole thing was transactional. He also has way more money than me, so I wasn't even thinking about money, which may seem entitled, but it just really didn't cross my mind. Again, I didn't mind paying for stuff, but I see where he's coming from not wanting to have to ask. But it's also not like I didn't pay for a single thing. I did. To be clear, I'm not mad about the money or that he didn't buy me an expensive gift. There wasn't even a birthday cake on my actual birthday or during the trip. I haven't said anything to him because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. He didn't plan a single thing during the trip except for the Michelin restaurant. Everything we did was my idea, and he just kept asking me what I wanted to do, and then later got mad that we weren't doing anything he wanted to do. Like, okay, why aren't you saying anything? He told me that I was being ungrateful and didn't appreciate all the money he spent, which isn't true at all. I was constantly thanking him and didn't complain a single time. To be honest, I didn't feel any type of way until he started complaining to me. Am I the jerk for calling out my husband for making me feel guilty about money on a trip that was supposed to be my birthday gift? I don't think OP's the jerk because I kind of get the sense that he kind of lost the plot. Like, to me it sounds like they pushed the whole birthday thing to the absolute background and said, no, this is an us trip and I deserve to be celebrated too because it's our anniversary trip or something like that. Apprehensive Mark 20 commented, sounds like partway through the trip he forgot this was a gift for you and started seeing it as a mutual vacation that you should pay half for, then got angry at being reminded and chose to dump those feelings onto you. This isn't fair to you. or a good look for him, not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not covering my neighbor's grocery bill after they repeatedly borrowed my stuff without returning it? I, 24-year-old female, live in an apartment building and have a neighbor, Kaya, 27-year-old female, who's friendly but a bit careless. Over the past 6 months, Kaya's borrowed several things from me. Tools, a ladder, even my Wi-Fi password when her internet was down. I didn't mind at first, but she's terrible about returning stuff. My screwdriver set is still missing, she kept my ladder for weeks until I asked for it back, and she used my Wi-Fi for a month without offering to chip in for the bill. Each time, I've been polite and let it slide, thinking she would get better about it. Last weekend, I ran into Kaya at the grocery store. She was at the checkout with a cart full of stuff, but realized she had forgotten her wallet. She asked if I could cover her $85 bill, promising to pay me back that evening. I hesitated because of her track record with my stuff and because I'm on a tight budget myself. I told her I could spot her $20 for essentials but couldn't cover the whole bill, especially since it included things like expensive snacks and beer. She got frustrated, saying I was unneighborly and that she would have done the same for me. She ended up leaving most of her items behind and only buying what she could with the cash she found in her pocket. Since then, Kaya's been giving me the cold shoulder, and another neighbor said Kaya called me stingy. I feel bad because I know forgetting a wallet is stressful, and maybe I could have helped more since we're neighbors. But I also feel like her pattern of borrowing without reciprocating made me wary. Am I the jerk for not covering her full grocery bill? OP's not the jerk here. They had a well-established history that she's not paying anything back. Would it be too far of me to say that you could brand OP a fool if they went through and paid that $85 hoping that they get paid back? In a perfect world, they do pay OP back, but you can't trust that they're going to. CP Sue commented, I knew someone like her. Generosity only flows in one direction, and all of her relationships were transactional in her favor. I suggest you cheerfully accept the role of stingy neighbor and welcome the cold shoulder, because it means she's not going to ask you for help if she knows it won't get her anything. If another neighbor comments, you can respond with, I have no problem with being called stingy if being stingy means I refuse to lend things to people who don't return them. That says everything they need to know. Not the jerk. This next story is, am I the jerk for deciding not to stay at my aunt's house after her strict rules and her telling me I should have more respect? So I'm traveling to some countries in Europe with my 14-year-old son, and this is his first time here. It's a big, expensive trip for me because we live 16 hours flight time away from Europe. Since I'm in Europe, I decided to get a flight and visit my aunt because I lived with her for 2 years when I was 15. I stayed at her place out of respect, even though I could have gotten a hotel nearby. Originally, I was supposed to be there for 3 nights. After night 1, I realized her house rules are still the same and, honestly, they're a bit too much for me. It has always been too strict, but now that my son's here, I feel bad. It doesn't feel like holiday for him. Some of her house rules are like not letting me buy a small table fan for the bedroom. It's summer and super hot, no AC. She also forbid me to open the window at night due to it might being too cold for me. It wasn't. When I locked the door to the bedroom, she ordered me not to do that and said that there's no thieves in the area. Unlike where I came from, an Asian country, this was her words. My son and I also have to wipe the bathroom tiles on the side of the shower after showering, hang the towels in a correct way. If I do it wrong, she flips out. We have to dry ourselves inside the shower and not outside the shower. Only open the window to the bathroom at certain times. I can't turn on the bedside light at night even though my son doesn't usually sleep in darkness. Make the bed before we go out, even just to the store nearby to buy some food. I find all of this uncomfortable, but I was trying to be respectful. Today, she took me to my old school. Near the school, she went into a shop to try on some trousers, which was fine by me, and my son and I got bored, so we stepped outside to get some air and to sit down. We were tired from our previous walks on our Europe trip, plus jet-lagged. About 15 minutes later, she comes out and tells me I should have told her when I left because I'm the child. I'm 37-year-old female, and she's the adult, and I should have more respect. She also said that I need to set a good example for my son. On the way to the school, she mentioned something about me needing to teach my son our native language. He's in an international school, and thus he doesn't speak our native language. Also, to always cook for him instead of getting takeout, when she knows full well that I'm a defense attorney and not a domestic housewife. That was the last straw for me. I told her I was just outside and she could see me from the window. I decided I didn't want to stay another night since I wasn't comfortable and didn't want to be judged on a holiday. I always pride myself on being a good single mom, but her words make me feel inadept. I also canceled our schedule to meet her younger brother because I didn't know him at all, and mentally, I was just over the whole situation. She seemed hurt, but I feel like I was just standing up for myself. Am I the jerk for leaving and not staying another night? OP's not the jerk, even if it came down to like the customs are just too different for OP to really vibe with and enjoy a vacation with. That alone I think would be enough for OP to just part ways. I mean, getting talked down to, having such a negative experience, it's no surprise that OP would want to be trying to get out of there. No Assignment 5538 commented, "Not the jerk. She's trying to treat you like you're a child. The rules are excessive. I would be pretty blunt. I found your rules to be ridiculous, inconvenient, and controlling. You're being disrespectful of me as an adult and of my son's needs, so I'm removing myself from your home. Please do not hassle or bother me, as you're affecting my ability to enjoy my vacation." Our next story is, am I the jerk for letting my boyfriend tell a friend to find her own ride home from the beach? Took a friend to the beach after she'd been begging to go. She brought no money, ate our food, drank my alcohol, and then disappeared to make out with 2 random guys. We stopped our day to look for her, made eye contact, and got ignored. She has a pattern of flaking, mooching, and crossing boundaries like commenting on my looks, smacking my butt, and getting upset when I didn't want her sleeping in my bed. My boyfriend's always been uncomfortable with how clingy she is with me. When she finally showed back up, he told her she could ride with the guys she was with, since she clearly wasn't with us. She started crying, and he still told her she could ride back with us, but it's not fair for her to disappear and treat us like a free ride. She chose to leave and turned her location off. Now she's acting like we abandoned her. Am I the jerk? Or we, rather. I mean, if they stuck to the whole, you can't ride with us anymore, you clearly weren't with us the whole time, then yeah, they probably would be the jerks. But they did walk it back and they said, look, we're clearly agitated, but we're not going to leave you stranded here. For them to turn around and be like, no, well, I'm not actually going with you guys anyways, and I'm turning my location off, and you abandoned me. That part is clearly 100% on the friend. Pikmin Lover 20 commented, did no one read the whole post? OP and her boyfriend took it back and said that they would give her a ride. They just found what she did that day to be crappy. In response to being told her actions sucked, she left and turned location off, which meant OP couldn't find her. That's pretty much her decision at that point, as OP had already spent a decent part of the day looking for her, and OP called her to make sure she had ended up home safe. Our next story is, am I the jerk for accidentally cutting my neighbor's tree? My partner and I recently bought our first home. During the summer, we decided to clean up the backyard. It was a bit overgrown and messy, so we wanted to get it looking nice and start a garden. There's a fence between our property and our next door neighbors. During the cleanup, we cut down a Manitoba maple that had started growing right along the fence line on our side. It wasn't a planned tree, more like something that had seeded itself and started growing wild. He was about 6 feet high, and the diameter of the trunk was about 3 inches, and we figured we would replace it with flowers and some landscaping. It turns out the tree wasn't actually on our property. Apparently, when the neighbor put up the fence, he didn't build it on the actual property line. It was built a few feet into his own yard. So even though the tree looked like it was on our side of the fence, it was technically on his land. We had no idea. When he noticed the tree was gone, he came outside visibly angry and started yelling at us. We apologized right away and explained that we genuinely believed it was on our property and shared our plan to replace it with flowers and landscaping. Unfortunately, he wasn't satisfied. He's actually the tenant, and he reported the situation to his landlord, who then sent us a letter stating that they intend to pursue legal action. On top of that, we're now frustrated because, due to how the fence is placed, we have to maintain this strip of land on our side of the fence, mowing, weeding, dealing with plants, even though it's technically still his property. It doesn't feel fair that we're responsible for upkeep on a piece of land that we don't actually own and can't make decisions about. Am I the jerk for accidentally cutting down my neighbor's tree, but offering to replace it with other landscaping? Edit, I really appreciate everyone's input here, and I wanted to add some new information here based on some comments. We don't live in the States, and where we live, it's not mandatory to get a survey done when buying a home. Based on Google Maps Street View, the fence has been there since at least 2019. I know in the post I said that we would replace the tree with flowers and other landscaping, but we did also mention a new tree. I should have mentioned that as well. I 100% agree that we weren't smart and made a stupid assumption about the property line based on where the fence was placed. Edit number 2, something else came to mind while reading the comments. Before this whole incident, we had actually asked the tenant for his landlord's contact info because we wanted to improve the shared space in the front yard. He refused to give it to us and told us not to worry, saying the landlord would be fine with us doing whatever we wanted. So, obligatory, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that last bit OP included is gonna do anything for them. Bottom line though, if you're going to do something transformative to your yard and you don't have a survey, make sure you get one. Unfortunately, some places they can charge like an arm and a leg for them. I just gotta say though, I don't know where they live. I don't know if there's like an HOA kind of thing going on, but I don't understand how OP could be the ones left on the hook if it's literally not legally their property. If I was them at that point, I would honestly just stop maintaining it. Like if I were them, maybe I would start considering putting a fence of your own up on the property line. KidCool97 commented, "You're the jerk, why would you cut down a perfectly fine tree just to replace it with other plants? Also for not bothering to learn your own property lines." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.